Maxwell Jacob Friedman has turned babyface, and he was even beaten up by the Firm to prove it. Cap.
Wow, you're in the mix with Pro Wrestling Bits.
MJF, the best heel currently in wrestling, is leaning into demands that he turn babyface. As hard as he tried and succeeded to remain a heel, babyface fever for MJF has spread from the New York market throughout the rest of the country. So how did we get here? Well, MJF endeared himself to the AEW audience by positioning himself not as a malcontent who screwed over the fans by no-showing. Like the great worker that he is, MJF convinced these fans that he was the good guy in all this. MJF was a 2011 CM Punk. Tony Khan was the Vince McMahon. MJF was a little guy getting underpaid by AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery. It was MJF who was being held prisoner by that evil promoter and that fucking mark, Tony Khan. His words and mine. Just kidding, Anthony. We love Tony Twitter Fingers on this channel. See him in action here. Anyway, MJF essentially started to turn Tony Khan an AEW heel with his pipe bomb promo in Inglewood. Then AEW took care of the rest of the heel turn itself thanks to a series of backstage brawls, a broken locker room, and an in-over-his-head promoter who was helpless to stop it. Pretty soon there were real-life MJFs like Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. Also shouts to Jonathan Gresham. Suddenly, AEW's leadership seemed every bit as toxic as MJF said they were during that worked shoot. Plus, they kept taking Sammy Guevara's side. By the time Hurricane Phil tore through that locker room, a lot of people started to question whether MJF was right about Tony Khan and All Friends Wrestling. It was almost too easy to side with him. Last month, AEW messed around and had MJF feud with Wheeler Yuta, which God love Yuta, but even the Blackpool Combat Club was cheering for MJF. Yuta showed out against Jon Moxley, where he really only had to grunt and bleed to get fans on his side. Against MJF in promo segments, though, was an entirely different beast, as the charismatically challenged Wheeler Yuta was exposed, right down to MJF comparing him to paint drying. MJF's reality-based promos and reliance on WWE references can be tedious, but what's great about this scripted storyline, which AEW needs more of, is that nobody really knows whether or not MJF is gonna remain a babyface. The heat surrounding this angle revolves around a storyline decision of whether or not MJF is turning heel. Not some shoot situation where it might be on site at the media scrum. Babyface or heel, when it comes to MJF, there's been arguments for both within AEW, and it's giving people a reason to buy Full Gear. Because with Cousin Phil all but gone, Lord knows AEW will need to go out of its way to give people a reason to buy their pay-per-views post CM Punk. But MJF still has a lot of juice as a heel, and AEW intends to have their cake and eat it too. They'll make him a babyface for now, so they can capitalize on all these big reactions and momentum. Hell, maybe they're even giving it a test run to see what it does for ratings and their basura ticket sales. He'll be a babyface for now, because I fully expect MJF to turn heel by Full Gear alongside the Firm and his new manager, William Regal. Yeah, the Firm beat up MJF. So what? MJF is so good at being a heel and has had so many fake babyface turns that in order to convince people that this one's real, he had to kayfabe pay his goons to beat his ass, like any gang member would. Gang members beat up their own as part of an initiation. That's just street shit. MJF's current babyface run feels like The Rock in 1998, when he started getting big babyface reactions around August. So they went with it, only to turn him heel a couple of short months later at Survivor Series that year. The Rock went right back to being an awesome heel and turned babyface about 5 months later. That feels like the model AEW is following. Plus, I find it hard to believe MJF is going to be a babyface world champion before ever getting to become a heel world champion. He's never had a title in AEW to be a heel with. I'd like to see that first. Let's say AEW does go all the way with MJF as a babyface. Who's he gonna feud with? A babyface Hangman Adam Page? A babyface Jon Moxley? Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega when he gets back, Jungle Boy, Hook, Darby Allin, all babyfaces. Christian's injured. Oh, but Wheeler Yuta is turning heel, thank God. AEW relies upon great wrestling over great characters, and the problem with that is AEW has a lot of great wrestlers, and it becomes hard to really hate a great wrestler in a wrestling company that prides itself on wrestling. Did you know Pac is technically a heel? Does that come across when he's flying out of your TV like Kanye money out of JP Morgan Chase? AEW doesn't have too many ready-made heel characters for a babyface MJF. This is a time where AEW's pay-per-view buys are already on their way down with the loss of their biggest draw. Outside of Chris Jericho, the only heel in AEW on the level of an MJF is MJF. What's he gonna feud with himself? WWE's already doing that with Bray Wyatt. Should MJF turn heel or remain a babyface? Tell me in the comments.